Welcome to the second Saturday presentation. Obviously, we're not at the museum today. We're at Bay City Players. How many of you have been in the Bay City Players Theater before? How many of you have been involved in Bay City Players? Okay, a little bit of housekeeping. Please don't turn off your cell phones. Don't. Watch me go. More people coming in.
You're on your feet.
And everybody's down at the front. That's good. That's good. The first thing I will tell you about next month's program, which will be Hell's Half Mile and Film Festival. And that will be with Alan LaFave, who has been the instigator and the director of the film festival. The festival itself is in its 11th year. It brings in scores of independent films, filmmakers, actors, bands from all over the country to downtown Bay City. This popular event brings attendees not only from our local area, but from all over Michigan and beyond. Join founder and director Alan LaFave as he presents the history of the event and what to expect at this year's festival. So remember, and that will be at the museum. Don't go downtown or go anyplace else. You'll be lost. You need to come to the museum. I need the... Okay. Jan Rao, got you, Jan. Jan Rao is the chairperson of the River of Time, and she will have a few minutes of our time and your time to talk about this year's River of Time. Jan?
Thank you, Judy. I wanted to say and start out by saying thank you to the Bay County Historical Society. They are our in-kind sponsor, and they provide our accounting services and our web support and our media support, and I'm very grateful to them for that. I also would like to thank the Wildfire Credit Union. They are sponsored this year for us for the event itself, and we're very grateful to them for their financial support, and so we're grateful to them for that. Then the dates this year are September 22, Friday, is our Education Day. Last year we had 2,000 students come through the event. In 2015, which was our perfect weather year, we had 2,500 students. When this event started, we were getting 600 and 700 students, so it's a wonderful thing to see this growing. Saturday is September 24, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday is September 25, 22, 23, and 24. So the 23rd is Saturday, 24 is Sunday. Sunday is 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. There is a schedule, and there's date cards and a schedule out in the lobby. You're welcome to pick those up. Also, I would ask you to take a look at our quilt. The quilt has been generously donated by the Bay Heritage Quilters Guild, and we are selling raffle tickets. I will be out there at the end of this presentation to help sell you a raffle ticket, and you can get more information about River of Time. Just a couple things. River of Time, weather. There will be weather at River of Time. We can have any kind of weather God ever created. In recent years, He has blessed us with warmth and sunshine and very little rain. But why I'm telling you this is our reenactors come, rain or shine, they present rain or shine. Just dress appropriately for the weather, come and see us. They would love to speak with you about anything that goes on with what they're presenting. They're very good, they're very knowledgeable, and that's our, we're thank you to our reenactors for that. So please come and join us this year. It is again toward the end of September, so I thank you.
Now to the program at hand. We have We are, as you can tell, you're in Bay City Players Theater. We have two people here representing the theater. Kathy Pawloski has been a 30-year volunteer. Since January 2016, she's been the operations manager, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Bay City Players is second home to both she and her husband. He is also very involved, as were their children when they were still home. I'm assuming they have left the empty nest.
Indeed.
Okay.
They made the nest empty.
Okay, made the nest empty. Okay, that happens to all of us eventually. Yeah. Okay, and I don't know who's going to go first, but next I will introduce Leeds Bird. Leeds has been a member of Bay City Players for 60 plus years. He continues to act, direct, and design for shows. A lifelong resident of Bay City, Leeds taught speech and drama at Garber High School for 25 years. After retiring from teaching, he traveled in Middle Western and New England states performing as Mark Twain. Now I can without the hair, he not so much, but with it, yes, you do. You have the persona. He has performed several times in the River of Time as Mark Twain. Leeds and his wife Margaret previously owned and operated Bird's Custom Framing. With that, I will let them decide who's going to be first. Okay?
You want to start way back in history, of course, and it's more suitable for me than it is for Ken. Let me tell you right now, this is going to be very informal for a variety of reasons, but we really want you to understand that you're in a theater, and even though things get pretty rigid when a show is in performance, getting it there is loose, and so we're going to be somewhat loose for you. I think you can see that in two things Kathy mentioned to me earlier, and that is the chalk out front, okay, on the sidewalk there, because
We just finished our Stages of Discovery, one of our children's programs, and that was part of their advertising. They wrote the name, some of it is washed off already, but the name of the show was on there and when you could come and how you got tickets. That was their idea of marketing.
and Stages of Discovery goes from 8 years of age through middle school. And then some people commented on the floor, just another leftover from a production we just did Hair a little while ago. If you know Hair, it's a hippie play, musical. Came out of New York in 1968. And so the floor is left over from that psychedelic era, okay? Before we begin with what we planned, talking with Judy, it made me think in terms of something that we hadn't planned on covering. And that is the unusualness of Bay City Players in the complexion of community theaters throughout the state. We held a conference here last spring, CTAM, Spring Convention, Community Theater Association of Michigan, and we had dozens and dozens and dozens of other community theaters here to perform in competition with each other and to support each other. Inevitably, if two people come up to you, one of them tells you how envious they are of your theater. And I'm quite sure I'm in the ballpark, so don't hold me to the percentage exactly, but about 75% of the community theaters in Michigan do not own their own theater. They go to high schools, they go to gymnasiums, any place there is space. And that was our history too, which you'll find out about. And the other thing that is so interesting to me is that the progress, and that's part of what you're going to see, a good deal of what you're going to see, comes from excuse this so I don't, I'm going to run out, comes from our community. Literally, this is your theater. It's the theater of people who live here. It's the theater of people who volunteer here. And except for 3 part-time positions, we're a 100% volunteer organization, which is, I think, extraordinary, and have been since we started 100 years ago. Really exceptional. The progress has been wonderful, and always the result of dedicated people from the community who want it to be good, and then the others who come in and want it to be better. So that's that. Michael. Okay, that's supposed to be dazzling. You see that? Isn't that the answer? Okay, Mike, we have the next one too. All right. The front of our house, and over here is our mission statement. Basically declares is a volunteer-based community theater dedicated to providing high-quality theatrical experiences for the entertainment, education, and enrichment of the community. Consequently, when people say, well, why don't you do all musicals? Shut up. We can't do all musicals and meet the criteria. Part of the education process, the enrichment process, is to expand our audience's appreciation and give them opportunities to see things that they'd never see someplace else. Kathy will tell you about those other 3 things on the side there.
Well, the other 3 things we already started to touch on, the marketing of the chalk on the sidewalk. Let me back up. So the youth theater, these are kind of in order of when they happen during the year. There's nothing better or worse about any of the other. They're just lots of things that we have going that keep us going throughout the year now. There was a time when we would do 5 shows and close up for the summer. But now we have a youth theater program that is 3rd grade through high school, and the 3rd through middle school are the actors and the do-all people, and the older kids are the directors. So we get kids from all the high schools in the area, all the grade schools. Some come as far as Pinconning, and it's really cool to watch them work together because they have to. You know,
180 kids this year.
Yeah, and they start in March. So they work on Saturdays in the 1st through March and April and part of May, and then towards the end of school they come at night and work a couple hours. And because there are 180 kids, we break them up into groups. So by the time they get to that May section, where they're here twice a week, 6 to 8 in the evening, and it's their group then working on their show. The kids present 8 different shows, and that happens mid-June is when they perform.
It's always the weekend after school has closed.
Right, because then we get them here all day for that whole week. And they have their blocks where they work, because they have to come up with costumes, they have to come up with set, they have to come up with props. They have to make sure they know their lines, and it really is quite an interesting process because some of them are so tiny. And you may have been to maybe your grandchild's dance recital or someone you know, and you watch them and all they can manage to do is this. But it's a start, you know. I don't think we've had anybody that's been left in the wings that doesn't want to be in the wings. So then the
Anybody here ever been in youth theater? I knew them. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Get that. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Seriously, I'll be in Kroger. Somebody will walk up and say, hi, Leeds. I've never seen them before in my life. But I pretend I have. They want to know am I doing anything at Players. And then before they're finished, it's, I was in youth theater. Over and over again.
Well, and part of the reason he gets so many people that say it was in youth theater is because we did season 46 of youth theater. It's right in mid-40s. So it's been continuous for over 40 years that these kids get to come and play and learn and do every summer. And it's really a big commitment, and I really applaud them, because they could spend their Saturdays doing, you know, just about anything else, but it's their love of their craft that keeps bringing them back.
Stages of Discovery is I'll say a more academic situation. They take place after youth theater. They do more hands-on classroom work, but they're still working toward a final performance. And these are, they are middle school through high school?
No, third grade through middle.
Oh, third grade through middle school. But it's a different kind of situation. As I said, it's more academic, usually smaller groups, and a lot more hands-on. I went in the kitchen one time while they were working. Tables were covered with horns they had made. I have no idea what they were doing with the horns. I wasn't going to ask. But in the theater, it's part of what happens.
They have a 3-week intensive, and as Leeds said, so they learn about why a costume hangs like, why you want a costume to drape like that, why a woman would have had a net on her head, you know, and it has to do with creating characters, and it's not just stick this on and go. It's the difference between, you know, hi, I'm Kathy, and well, maybe I'm Kathy, but you'll never know because I have a net on my face. They do that kind of really in-depth study, and again, as Lee said, they were learning about prosthetics in the theater, and they each made their own set of horns, and some were curly and black, and some were pink, and some were blue speckled. So it's never limiting. It's however, whatever they can come up with, they can create. And I think that's part of the plus about it. And it's because theater is that way. If you can think it, you can make it happen.
And a character wearing blue speckled horns is not the same character as somebody wearing red horns. And the kids recognize that, and they adjust their characters for what they've created for themselves. Last is recyclables. Are any of you members of recyclables? Well, recyclables is open to retired people. What is it?
55.
55 and up. They are a reader's theater. You don't have to memorize lines. They've been in existence. Do we know a date on that?
That one's almost 20 years.
Okay. They perform. They are probably the biggest outreach that Players has. These people go to, I don't exaggerate, can I say 65?
Yes.
65 places every year, perform an entertainment, which they read. They have their own vest, and they have their own music stands and their own stools.
Yep,
Stool they sit on. In other words, they put themselves together as an entity, and they're very proud of themselves. They really need more people to take part, though. And they have a wonderful time, and they don't charge anything for what they do. They go to facilities, they go to schools, they are all of it. In fact, it wasn't long ago, 2 or 3 years ago, they went down to Three Rivers to teach, to instruct their community theater on how to put together a program like recyclables. But if you'd like to be involved in something, that's perfect for you. They're really a great group of people, and they even bring in money. They never ask for it, but organizations say, well, here's something, and they're proud of it. Now, Players supports them, of course, the way we support all 3 of those. Players is the umbrella organization for them, but when they can bring in their own money, they're very happy about it. So that's other than. Now, what we're looking at here is our 100 years. March 19th, 1917, Mrs. Grinnell. We had a nice big house on Center Avenue. She began debut performances of the, see that Bay City Art Club? Performing in members' homes as part of the Thursday morning music hour. I'm going to explain all that to you much more clearly in a moment. okay? Now, in the 1920s, they continued performing, but merged as a group called the Musical Art Club. In 1928, that group was renamed the Bay City Theater Guild. And then finally, 1931, name change to Bay City Players. We could really trace back to great-grandfather organization in 1899. Because, no, go back, Mike.
Oh,
Yeah.
there it is. Thank you.
You're going to stay there a long time.
Go back to sleep.
So the Bay City Art Club existed in 1899. And then right after it, there was another organization that began in this community called the Thursday Morning Music Hall. They created a tentative merger as the Musical Art Club. I'm going to give you more details. The final merger, it was tentative in 22. By 24, they decided they could get along together without fighting. So it became a final merger. 1929 it was named the Bay City Theater Guild. Then in 1931, it was named Bay City Players. 1935, the Musical Art Club leaves Bay City Players. And from 1935 on, Bay City Players is a solo organization. Now, let me give you this information, pardon me reading it. When the Bay City Art Club was formed, it was actually several organizations who merged in 1899 when they presented a production called Prehistoric Art. They focused on analogies between the arts, they held lectures, and hosted speakers with discussion of literature and art. This group mostly performed for themselves with one public performance a year. 1901 saw the formation of a group called the Thursday Morning Music Hall, a small group of music lovers. Members were all performers, did not use lecturers to provide entertainment. These two groups, the one with the lecturers, the talkers, and the one with the musicians, would perform parallel to each other until World War I began. Then the Bay City Art Club suspended its meetings for the duration of the war and did not perform another play until 1921. However, the other part of that, the Thursday Morning Music Hall, was a smaller group made up entirely of performers. They continued to meet in homes all during the war. So the combination of this group, well, you know, consider one the wife, the other one the husband. One goes off and does something, the other one keeps doing it. They come back. In 1922, Mrs. N.R. Wentworth suggested the two groups, Bay City Art Club, Thursday Morning Music Hall, officially merge. They decided on a tentative merger and became the Musical Art Club. This group was divided into three areas: art, music, and drama. And in an effort to please everyone, as if that's ever possible, the Musical Art Club decided to do 2 plays a season. One a musical and one a straight play. A straight play is simply the term, meaning it's not a musical. 2 years later, in 1924, the merger was considered a success. The boards merged, the organization remained the Musical Art Club until 1929. It was renamed the Bay City Theater Guild and stayed with that name until 1931, when it was renamed Bay City Players. Now, I think an interesting thing happens in 1935, other than my birth on July 13th. The Musical Art Club revises its constitution and splits from the Bay City Players in order to pursue its mission of alternating art and music. If you take a look, and the drama group continues at Bay City Players, if you take a look and put 2 and 2 together, it seems to me the shape of the organization was moving much more toward drama and less toward music and art. So, the musical group left, and Bay City players stayed as Bay City players up to the present time. As long as this theater has had a facility of its own, we've always been glad to provide space for area artists. We're not just drama, we do music and we do art. It's not our art when we talk about, I never call it the right thing, I always call it plastic art, nobody knows what I'm talking about. But painting, drawing, sculpture, pottery, weaving. We provide space in the lobby and had as long as I can remember, ever since we moved in this theater in 1955. There has always been room for artists to display it because it's a part of we're all sister organizations. We belong to the a la carte group in Bay City, you can't use qualifiers when you use the word unique. So I'll say it's rather special. Bay City Players, Studio 23, the State Theater, the Bay Arts Council, the Planetarium, the library, the band, Bay Community Band, and the Planetarium all belong to an organization that meets almost just about monthly. We've raised money. If you ever received a big postcard with events, that's us. That's a la carte. And so, even though we may be players in Studio 23, maybe Studio 23, we all know that we have a kinship that we owe to each other. 38 homeless years. Where did we perform? High school gymnasiums, high school auditoriums. For some reason, St. Joe's Gymnasium over and over again. The Rialto Theater, way back when there were a couple opera houses around. If you remember that glorious Washington Theater, which was removed for a parking lot. But when it was removed, nobody was looking at saving those buildings. And finally, and in fact, I was in the last play that performed outside of this facility. We performed at the Scottish Rite Cathedral, and we couldn't rehearse there. We had to rehearse it where there was space. So we rehearsed many times in Wanda Calvin's third floor ballroom of a Center Avenue house. Sometimes in the past, those were the performance areas. Any place where you could seat a large number of people and perform what you want to perform was open to being used. Till 1954 is when we moved in here. 1955 is when we decided to purchase the organization of the building. And I have to tell you, there was a group of women. I was in the last one, so I was in a play that was spring of 1954. Came into this theater in 1955. And I was in a play that time. I really liked being in the last one and in the first season. But the thing that you have to understand is that there was no money. There's never been money. It's something America doesn't understand compared to the rest of the world. Arts do not support themselves. They never have, because they're not in it for the money. They're in it for what you get from it, for what they make valuable to people. And in the States, there's a definite tendency to not be as supportive as they could be. But we had this group of women, about 5 or 6 of them, who when I came in, they were Bay City players. They made sure things happened. They took care of everything. And that was at a time when most women didn't work. That's what they did. And they just happened to be the wives of some very wealthy and influential men in the community. So, after they spent a year here, not here, but in the Pines Theater, they decided, well, let's buy it. So they went to their husbands and said, would you please stand behind a mortgage for us? Well, do you suppose they did? Of course they did, they're their wives. And without that, we wouldn't have been able to move forward in that respect. If you know, whether you know the Pines Theater or not, I'll tell you, that wall to that wall, straight out to the street, and to that wall right there where the things are projected. There was a lobby, candy counter, box office, that was the woman's, no, that was the women's restroom, that was the men's restroom, then you were in the theater. On that wall were a number of gnome-like characters who were bowling. On that wall, Rip Van Winkle was asleep. Pine wainscoting came from the paintings to the floor. And the entire lobby, the restrooms, all pine boards. It was the pine. So that's where we started. Kathy, you want to tell them what this is?
This is the beginning of the need for renovation. And I wasn't here for this, but from what I've been told is there was, the person drove into the box office, the police were called, they removed the car, but they never found the driver. So.
Stand a little closer for the camera.
Oh.
Okay.
That's correct.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
They never found the driver.
And we had no money for the repairs, but we had insurance. And the insurance, that was a movie theater. That box office was an outside box office. If you remember movie theaters, they often had a box office that was out front, and the car drove into it. So the insurance paid for an entirely new facade, where we could actually put our name, Bay City Players, and on the tour you can see the letters back there now, pardon me, backstage. And it gave us new doors with windbreaks. It was wonderful. We were delighted that the car ran into us.
Unfortunately, you weren't hurt.
I'm sorry?
I say, fortunately, you weren't hurt.
No, it was during the daytime, nobody there. And apparently if the driver was hurt, he wasn't so hurt that he couldn't get away on his own. So that was our first. Okay, Mike, next one. Thank you.
They couldn't trace him through the car?
Beg pardon?
They couldn't trace the person through the car?
I don't know if they did or not. I would imagine the police did. But that didn't involve us, and so candid. I doubt that anybody cared if the police did. Now, we still have that long, skinny Pines Theater. And while we have it, we buy the house behind us. It's a nice house, 2-bedroom. Oh wait, no, I have to back up. Forget that house. We have to convert the Pines Theater into a stage because it was movies. They didn't really have a stage. They had a little space out in front and not much of anything. So what happened was we called them wings. The off-stage side of the theater on either side is called a wing. In this wing over here, there was a woman's dressing room built. In that wing over there, there was a men's dressing room built. In that wing over there, on top of the men's dressing room, was a makeup room. Now, the space goes from those bricks to that door. All that was jammed in there. And you had then actors who needed to stand there to make their entrance. So it got pretty crowded over there. On this side, we did have a little hallway that went back to the corner. And after a couple of years, a toilet was installed. But you couldn't flush it during the show. You could flush before the show, during intermission, after the show. Well, if it was a musical and they applauded after a song, you could flush. And we dealt with that for a very long time. When I say a men's dressing room, that is such a misnomer. It was a hallway that led from one side of the stage to the other, and it went around a corner into the women's dressing room. That corner of the hallway was the men's dressing room. They hung some pipes, and I think you also hung your privacy there, because there was no privacy to be had. The makeup space could accommodate comfortably 6 people. And you can't do that when you've got a cast of 18. But they lived with it, we loved it. And then in, when did she do that? Mrs. Pierce, I can't remember. Mrs. Otto Pierce donated $12,000 in memory of her husband for us to build an orchestra pit. This is not really the orchestra pit, this is new. Our orchestra pit was back there another 7 feet. Stage came out, dropped down, hole in the ground, hole under the stage. And that was the orchestra pit, which would be covered by wood and carpet, so that when you were doing a straight show, you could walk on it. Other than that, you had to take up the carpet, you had to take up the supports, you had to put in the railing, and if you had a piano, which you always did, you had to carry it down there. A real treat. People complain? Count on it. Did people mind? Count on it. Did people do it? Definitely. It was that kind of wonderful feeling. So that was the first, after the car, that was our first major improvement. Mrs. Pierce gave us that much money, and we put in an orchestra pit. It had some problems. First of all, it was wide open, which means you get a huge amount of sound, which means people in the front rows, and there are always people who want to sit in the front rows, get blown away. Now, some of them didn't care, because they wanted to watch the musicians too. But it was wonderful, but it had its shortcomings too. So now we buy the house next behind us. And after a while, the house next to that comes up for sale. We buy that. The house immediately behind us was owned by a man who was very active at Players, and we got a deal on the house. The other house was so run down, they were glad to get rid of it. So we used that house for storage, and now we put a doorway in the back of the theater, a doorway in the side of the house. See that first structure there? And now that bedroom was the women's dressing room. That bedroom was the man's dressing room. The kitchen was makeup. You actually had a place you could sit and just relax, and a toilet you could flush whenever you wanted. Now, the fact that you'd run from the theater to the house to make a costume change, and run back from the house to the theater, and it was raining, meant that your character came in looking like it was raining, whether it was raining in the play or not. But that was okay. We were so relieved to have it, and what that did is that cleared this wing. Now we had some space over there. So those were our progress. And we were so glad to have them. You can see, we got the stage expanded, makeup and dressing rooms. Also, some guys, one summer, when I say some guys, I mean Players guys, one summer decided, because it was a movie theater, you had a fairly flat floor, they took out the back 5 rows of seats. They took out, they built a raked structure, put the 5 rows of seats back in so that it wasn't quite as level. Those people in the far back, they were elevated a little more, had better sight lines for the stage. That's the kind of thing that would go on all the time. I can't tell you how many times you come down here and find somebody who didn't need to be here cleaning a toilet, sweeping a floor, doing those things. It was a wonderful place. What do we refer to players as? Our what?
It's our family.
Our family. And they really are. They're so supportive. And you can see what happened. Hey, I was president 1 year, 1975, 1976. Absolutely hated it. I refused to ever be president again. But it was when I was president when we put in our seats, not these babies, the orange seats, if you've ever been here before, which people complained about to me forever. Why orange seats? Well, first of all, we had a coral colored drapery, and I was offered lipstick red, emerald green, electric blue, baby diaper brown, and orange. And I thought, okay, it's got to be orange, you know. But those are the kinds of things that happen from us in this theater from the time we got it in 1955 until some young people had the audacity to think that we could improve our situation. And I say young people because when I first went on the board, I was young. And whenever I bring anything up, the sages would always say, I don't think it can be done. I don't think we can do it. They always had reasons, but they never found out whether or not their reasons were accurate frequently. All of a sudden, these young people say, you know what we should do? We should tear down those houses and extend the theater out and back. Can we do this? Oh, of course we can do this. So, we did that. We tore down both houses, and we extended the theater the same width as this, and we now wound up with makeup and dressing rooms, restrooms, costume storage and construction, scenery storage, and some parking. 9 parking places for off-street. Now that was good because otherwise 9 players people would be parked on the street and other people wouldn't be able to get there because that parking lot across the street is fairly recent. That's only about 10 years old. I'm bad with time. It could be 12, could be 11. But you can see how it extends out, and if you could take the tour, and we'd be glad to take you around, you'll see those things backstage. You'll see the actual things. And you can actually stand in the driveway that doesn't exist anymore, or Marty's living room that doesn't exist anymore. See Stan's auto body? That was a functioning business next to us. You actually entered it when you came into the theater. And Stan was in business. Stan decided to retire. We bought Stan's. When I say we bought things, I don't mean we had the bills to just peel off. We bought things the way most people buy things. And now we have that space on the side. So what we did now was we created, well, first of all, we tore off the front of our building. And then we created an L shape. Can you see it on top? Kathy, can you go point it down? An L-shaped unit that wrapped the existing building. And it gave us, the only thing I regret is that so many of the people I worked with are no longer living to see what all this is. They dedicated themselves so much, and they would have been amazed. Can you show them the L shape?
So here's the front.
That's the front where you came in. And that goes down the side, on the other side of that wall, and back there as well. So, when that was phase 2. Phase 1 was to go straight out from the back of the building to where the houses had been. Now, phase 2 was to come in at the side and go across the front. And that now provided us with, rather than me just a larger lobby, larger restrooms, a kitchen, box office, business office, coat room, rehearsal space, prop storage, custodial room, backstage storage, and additional parking, as you can see where the arrow now goes, and all handicap accessibility. Now, that phase one cost us $350,000 plus. It was paid off. Remember, we started in 1994? It was paid off by the time we got to this phase. You know who paid for it? Foundations, granting organizations, and our patrons. And of course, whatever profit we can make from the show. But it's expensive doing the show. Just to let you know, we did My Fair Lady this spring. It cost us $8,000 just to have permission to do our My Fair Lady. Then we have to rent the music. And that's like another $700, $800. And that has to go back. So what we get from tickets takes care of our expenses. Although our people are so good that we frequently have some sense of profit at the end of every year. But those foundations that exist here that you support, that you give 20 bucks to every so often, they keep your community alive in these respects. So, phase three, you're sitting in it. You walk. What we had done was we had done things for play production, for us to be able to do what we do and get it done better and easier. But we hadn't done a lot to accommodate our audience. Now, we did, when we did phase two, they got bigger toilets. Well, the toilets are bigger, they had more toilets. A bigger lobby area, a bigger coat room, and nothing to do with our patrons, but a bigger box office, because our box office used to be this deep and this wide. You'd have 3 ladies crouched behind it, and I'm not exaggerating. We hadn't taken care of the house. This is called the house, okay? The auditorium in a theater is the house. So what did we do? Well, prior to doing this, we actually put $228,000 into a new ceiling, which provided a huge improvement in acoustics, plus safety for people working on the lights. What would happen is they'd have an extension ladder going up. They'd go up there, hang on the extension ladder, and focus the lights. Yikes. And they do it light after light after light after. They have to keep moving the extension ladder. Well, now they could walk across the catwalk, and the lights come out of the ceiling. They're behind it. They have to be very skinny and careless to fall through the hole. It's a blessing in so many steps. But that happened first. Now when we went into phase 3, I don't even know where to start.
Just point.
Start with the floor.
Sure.
We'll start with the seats. We got rid of all the orange seats. Hell's Half Mile came in and picked up some. They would like to have picked up more, but they didn't have the time, nor did they have the manpower. So, because we offered them free of charge, you come take them, you got them. And so then, when the seats were gone, we tore up the floor, which was pretty straight, except for those 5 seats going up. Underneath the floor, we found a tree stump. A real tree stump. We found 8 fence posts that were in a row and cut off. Apparently the people building, well, the Pines was not always the Pines. It was, before that it was the Tivoli, and before that it was the Rialto, I think. So people building for the Rialto thought, oh, it's too much trouble, get that stump over there, let's just build over it, which they did. I wish that we had kept the stump. I really do. We could have lacquered the stump and put it out in the lobby. People would sit on it. Okay? Now, we raked the floor then from the very back to here, the entire space. We put panelings on the wall. These acoustical panels are not the original wall. They're on the original wall. And they improve the acoustics. They also improve the lighting because you can see those strips of LEDs that go down. And then going across the top of what they call the bulkhead, their light's coming down. Once we had a floor, we could put seats back in. And we did, but not quite the same way. We reconfigured the seating. On the left is the way the seats used to be as a movie theater. You had 2 rows, you had seats on either side, seats right up to the wall. Well, it's a little awkward because the sides enter into where the middle is exiting. So we did what you can see. We put aisles on either side and one down the middle. It makes exiting much easier. It also makes it easier and more comfortable for people to get in and out. And for some reason, these seats are wider than the others. Probably not the part you're sitting on, but there's space beside you and space behind you that could take a winter coat or could take a more modern person. Have you ever sat in the seats at the Masonic Temple? I can't get my hips through there. They're about this wide. I can't believe those Victorian, how'd they cut down a tree in order to make this a lumbering capital? But the seats are bigger, and we extended the front of the stage and covered the orchestra pit. No more taking up the floor, no more putting down a fence. We built over it. That puzzled look on your face, you can hear the orchestra because there are 6 sections we can take out of the floor. But when we're not using an orchestra, we've got that whole, we've extended the front of our, well, that's called an apron. In front of that wall is an apron. We extend our apron another 7 feet or so. We have a 15-foot apron. We could actually present a play on our apron. So, what else did we do, Kathy? Oh, you'll see it when you go over there. We needed to make this, I never get the letters right, ADHA? American Disabilities.
ADA.
Except, in other words, this theater floor and this stage floor and that orchestra pit floor had to be accessible to people who might be in a wheelchair or have some difficulty going. So it is. We could have installed an elevator. The price of the elevator was no more than what we decided to do. But I was on the board of an organization that has a 1-floor elevator. Every time it goes out, which is fairly frequently, it costs $1,000 to repair it. So we gave up storage space that you'll see, and now we have ramps. We have ramps that lead backstage, ramps that lead down to the orchestra pit. Oh, and we put a new door in the orchestra pit, because prior to that, before we had this, if you were playing in the orchestra and you had to go to the bathroom, you had to get up and walk out through the audience. Everybody knows the bassoon player has a weak bladder. So now you could get in, you could get out, a lot of wonderful things. What you see here is all that would have happened except, in other words, that lobby would have been 10 years, 8 years old, worn and stuff. And one of our family members, whose father and grandfather had been very active here, donated a large sum of money to us, and we were able to renovate the entire lobby due to that donation. Now just imagine coming into this theater if you walked through something other than that lobby. what a disappointment it would be. But this makes it nice for you. Oh, I'm gabbing a lot. Okay, are we through, Mike?
Where are the red chairs?
Okay, here we are. This
Oh,
is
your
Cat-
question. What are the red chairs for?
Oh. Are you sitting in a red chair? Can you feel the difference? There is many. The chairs, the red chairs are there so that we don't have all brown chairs. And that's true, okay? We're not the only people to do that. You go to the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis, and they have colored seats all over the place.
How many fewer seats are there now with the renovation?
How
The new
many
seats?
seats?
Yeah.
We started out with 279, 67. 367. Because we extended this, we had lost a row here. Because we made changes with these three, we lost more. Because the seats are bigger, we lost more. We now seat 298. So we lost well over 70 seats. But I tell you, we like it because it makes us more intimate. And you're not to tell anybody else I said this, okay? There's a valuable factor. Say we've got 300 seats here, short two, but 300 seats. And you do a straight play that has, 175 people come. You put them in here, we're over half full. You put them in the other place, you're half empty. Get the difference? It's just a psychological thing. And so when Judy leaves, she said, oh, it was a nice play, but it was half empty. Or she can leave and say, oh, it was a nice play, and you know, it was almost full. It's a psychological thing, but it worked. Just like the color red. Arm wrestling as to what color that was going to be. We had an ugly purple, we had an ugly green, we had a nice blue and a nice red. Some people who wanted the blue said it was tranquilizing, made things calm and comfortable, and those who didn't said you don't go to the theater to be tranquilized, you go to the theater to be stimulated, and that's where the red came. Now, Gavin's going to tell you what's happening with us. Because we brought you right up to phase 3, you're now. And this is what's
Now we are celebrating our 100th season. And we're so It's huge, it really is. And with that, we listen to our patrons. We want to do what we can for them and for us that works for both sides. So with that in mind, our evening curtain times will now be at 7:30. So if you're used to coming at 8, come earlier, come at 7. So you're ready to go at 7:30. So that should be nice for everyone. And the Sunday shows will still remain at 3, like normal, which is nothing's ever normal. We will be offering a holiday show in the late November, early December time slot. The holiday show, holiday meaning you can bring your family to it. It may not be always Christmas themed or that kind of thing, but it will always be something you can bring your whole family to.
And the second show of the season, that slot is always family oriented.
Right, we did Jungle Book last year. We're doing A Christmas Story this year.
You know, Ralphie and the BB gun?
Right, so that will come up, and that will be our, we almost should call it a family show slot. So you can look forward to that. Our summer musical, we started that about 3 years ago as kind of, let's try this, and found great success with it. We started with Rent, we did Jesus Christ Superstar this year, we did Hair, and we're going to continue that pattern. And it'll be something maybe not everybody wants to see, but we're going to do it so that people that want to see that kind of edgier show, if you will be able to come to us and see it, not have to travel to Detroit or Chicago. And it gives our actors a variation of roles to do as well, so they're not
And
always...
it's also very attractive to younger people. They don't want to watch old poop things. They want things that are sharper edge. But we don't want to fill our season with those either. So the summer show is not part of the season that you might buy. It's separate. It doesn't run 2 weekends, it runs 1. And it will be edgy in a number of cases. If you don't like it, you don't come. If you like it, you do. And it's amazing how we have brought in people who've never been in our theater. We brought in young people performing who are now performing in other shows we do over and over. So it's been very beneficial.
And they're not only actors that come, or they came to audition for the show, but now they're painting sets. Now they're working in the box office. Now they're an usher. Now they're helping in any capacity that their schedule allows, which is very cool. And I think in hair, I think over half the cast was first time at Bay City Players. So that's great. Membership. Membership this year. We used to say if you bought a season ticket, you were a member. Well, after some consideration, we decided to change that up a little bit. And because so many of you are so generous throughout the whole year, if you donate $25 or more, then you are a member. And that would be an every year kind of thing. We would hope that you would donate $25 or more. And being a member means that we let you know if you have an email that we have things coming up. We let you know that we have an annual meeting every year, and we encourage you to come and vote on things like bylaw changes, board members. Those are the kind of perks of being a member. And then the other thing is to replace then the season ticket is what we're calling a flex pass. And those of you that have season tickets know that in the past, if you got your tickets and it didn't quite work out, you could change it as long as there were seats available. And that's what the flex pass does, but in a really grand way, is that you can buy a 5, 4, or 3 show flex pass. The prices are different, $80, $68, and $45, I believe. But you can use them one punch for each of the 5 shows. We had a lot of people actually buy a flex pass of 5 and say, I want all the seats for Annie. We have people that travel in the winter, they're gone, and so the 3 pass would be excellent for them. So it's very versatile. And if you have any questions, you can talk to me or call the box office. They're very good about helping you through all those things. You can purchase online, you can purchase by phoning, and of course you can purchase by stopping in. The box office is open in the summer from 9 till 2. Julie's here, and we give her that Fridays off in the summer to make sure she comes back for the fall. And then once September hits, we'll be back in 9 till 1, Monday through Friday.
And if you're really hip, not only can you order your ticket on your phone, you can print it on your phone. I know, I'm not either.
It's too hip for that.
Am I?
I use a phone for a phone.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so you've noticed that we're
Before you do this, the biggest discussion point in turning 100 was not to seem like we're old.
Right.
Because audiences keep changing, and we're looking at an audience coming in that doesn't want to go to something like that, So we're proud to be 100 years old, but we're celebrating it by looking to our future. And that's why all those changes Kathy just told you about, and that's why this that she's going to tell you about.
Yes. So with the whole, we're not 100 years old, we're 100 years moving on, moving forward, trying to, you've seen we've done a wonderful job of renovating our space to make it an attractive space, to make it a comfortable space. And now we want to give you a space to park. Yes. So you can tell we're becoming lumber barons, or not lumber barons, property barons, real estate moguls, whatever you want to call it. We've got this end of the block, and now we've got that end of the block. We've bought Northern Boiler 2 years ago, 2 years ago or 3, with the intention of raising it and putting in some parking. And you have to, of course, get your funds in line before you do those kinds of projects. So as we're looking around, we're like, little shop on the corner. You know, if we could get that, then we could just kind of, okay. And we did approach the Dippy Whip, and they said no. And so we just kind of sat for a little bit. And this year we decided we'd say, hey, Marie, just to keep you informed, this is our plan. We're going to take it down. We're going to, you know. And she came up with a brilliant idea. She said, why don't you buy my place? We said, yes. So that was wonderful. So we worked with Marie and got that done. So we do own all the way to the corner now. So yeah, so that's where the next big thing with you in mind comes in. Where we want to take down those buildings, put in a parking lot, put in a green space. And so, again, always moving forward. Now we're starting the next campaign project. It's going to be a $200,000 project. We already have earmarked $75,000 of it. Yeah, it's really cool. We went for 3 grants and got some of it that way. We had a nice bequest, and then it's kind of that mixed bag where our players some are dying. You know, some of them, they go and we miss them, and they're gracious enough to say, hey, you know, if you want to think of me fondly, leave a memorial to players. And we're getting money that way, which is, you know, bittersweet.
Talking about money, phase 1 was $350,000, okay? Phase 2, the L-shaped thing, was $675,000. That was $1 million. This renovation here was $600,000. The lobby was $100,000. Now, phase 1 has been paid for a decade or two. Phase 2 has been paid for. In 2 years, this will be paid for by I can't remember how you say it. Their contributions over a 5-year period. So essentially all this will be paid for. So when we start with the parking lot, that's a totally new project, which we're very proud of. I mean, that's $1.5 million that's paid for. And it's paid for by the people I told you.
Yeah.
Foundations,
Yeah.
people who leave grants, our patrons. It's marvelous. It
really is marvelous, and we keep saying it's 2 years, but it's actually 1.5 years. The end of 2018 is when that 5-year capital campaign finishes. So this will be paid at the end of next year, which is incredible. Yeah, it really is wonderful. And the other thing that we didn't mention as far as the contributions go is so often people that buy season tickets or the flex passes, they'll throw in, here's an extra $10. Here's an extra $20. You know, and after a time that adds up to a whole lot of money. So we feel so supported and so loved by those little generous acts, and they're not little, they're very generous. We're so appreciative.
And I said when we started, Bay City Players belongs to you, belongs to the community. And we see that because the community is always keeping us alive.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful, mouth to mouth. Mike? There's the parking lot, maybe hard to see. It's up in the corner. The dark things are green area. What is it, 29 parking spaces?
Yes.
And 9 of them are handicap, which is considerably more than we're required to do. One of the nice things about it is, first of all, the spaces are bigger than those across the street, and you also don't have to cross the street.
Right.
And I've heard, don't tell anybody I told you that, I've heard the city is considering repainting that lot and making it, you know, well, larger than, you know, bicycle parking. Okay, Mike? This is our season this current year. Nicer if you can get it. We'll be here in next month. It's Gershwin music, set in a Gershwin show, but it's been totally updated. Came off Broadway 3 years ago. Second show is A Christmas Story, Ralphie and His BB Gun, the family show. Third is Calendar Girls, which sounds pretty risque. But Calendar Girls are anywhere from 35 to 75. It's a gorgeous story. At first it sounds I won't use that word. Well, at first it sounds titillating, but it isn't, okay? There's nothing sensational about it at all. It's just very moving, very lovely. I literally had tears reading the last several pages. It's that beautiful. On Golden Pond, an American classic that we'll be doing in March. And then the last show of the season is the most successful show Players has ever done, Annie.
You're cordially invited to party with us on one of two nights, September 8th or September 9th. We offer 2 nights because we're hoping for huge masses of people to come. We've got wonderful food and drink, entertainment that's been arranged by Kevin Cole. It will be some of your favorite Players performers, as well as some of our Players' kids that are working professionally now. So that'll be really exciting. And then we'll cap it off with champagne and dessert and coffee. And we're gonna squeak a little bit of fundraising in there. We have a live auction, maybe 5 items, but they're each, they're an experience. You don't have to go home with a ball cap and a bag of candy. You can go home with a performance by Cameron Zavara or the pedal pub.
Was it Sunshine?
Sunshine Trolleys.
Yeah, Sunshine.
Yeah, Ashley graciously donated 2 trips, so we have 1 for each night, and that could be very fun for you and your friends. Tickets are available again online at the box office. You can see me. It is a $50 ticket, but again, it's a fundraiser. It's the food and the drink that you can manage.
A sizable portion of it that comes off income tax.
Yes, yes.
Why don't you hold those papers up?
Okay. And I have these for you in the entry when we go out back out. So this is the invitation, and all the information is there as far as time and what's going to happen when. And then this is the season brochure. And again, everything's in there, all the shows, the times, the dates, all that good stuff. And then this is a special for you. It's Bob Martin with Review Magazine. He was so excited for us to be 100, and we worked with him to create this supplement all about Players and what we're doing to celebrate and how we're going to move forward. So we have all this stuff in the lobby for you.
Okay, Mike? That says we're finished because it's the way that we began. Isn't that interesting? We bookended. I'm sorry that I gabbed so long. I can't help it. I mean, I suppose I could, but somebody would have to help it.
It's part of your charm. Yes.
So we would be delighted to take any of you on a tour. You are in phase 3. We'd be glad to show you what phase 1 looks like. We'll take you to the unseen portion of phase 2 because you've seen the portion in the front. Kathy would take some, I would take some. If you would find there are stairs with handles on either side of the stage that we could take you up with, or if you want to go through that door, there's a ramp that we put in place of the elevator that will take you back there as well. So,
before we do that,
yes.
There wouldn't be a second Saturday if I didn't talk. I was the one getting yelled at back there. So, in appreciation from the Bay County Historical Museum, we have a certificate of appreciation. I encourage you to take the tour today, because if you haven't, there's parts of the Players you probably will never see unless you do it today.
You could come and see it at the gala.
Or you can see it at the gala, yes. But thank you for coming today. Don't forget, next month is going to be back at the museum with Alan LaFave with Hell's Half Mile Film Festival. October, yes, we had to switch again. So we moved it from the time capsule. We're going to have Rowley Brothers, the history of Rowley Brothers in October with Mike Rowley, and then in November, the history of Bay Concert Band. Okay, and then December, you're taking a month off. Then we start back up again in January, okay? So thanks so much for coming out, and hope to see you next month, and I'll give it back to you guys.
before we go? Or?
I notice when we read the cast of who's on the plays and the thing, some of them come from great distances. How do they know that you're auditioning for parts?
Well, we do everything we can to market, especially is electronic media helpful to us? How do we?
Well, we do a Facebook post. We do an email blast. Again, those that we have their email for, we can let them know that we're having auditions. And a lot of it's word of mouth. They'll bring their friends.
It's these new people who've come, they've both been in here, and one of them knows that we're going to hold auditions for something, they contact the other one.
Or they contact the third friend that's
But you're
never
right.
been.
We get people from Standish, over in the thumb from Carroll, Midland and Saginaw, of course. It's just amazing how many places.
And part of the reason they come is what the show is. And the other part is that we really have a nice reputation. You know, it's fun at Players. They take care of you. It's a good atmosphere to work here, or play. So, yes.
Why March 1917 is the date for the Players' 100th anniversary?
I think, and I don't know, because that's the kind of history that was gone before I got here. But I think if you look, I never told you, it was 2 one-act plays in Mrs. Grinnell's living room, or her ballroom probably. And that, if you notice, it was music, lecture, art, drama, blah, but this was actually an entire entertainment that was theater.
And the Grinnells, were they the musical organ family?
They were, no. One was Riders to the Sea by James Millington Synge, and that's still done in colleges and all around, Irish playwright. And then the other one was William Butler Yeats, the 12-pound note.
Leeds, Jenny wondered if Mrs. Grinnell was of the Grinnell organ family.
I'm sure.
That they probably own
I'm
the
sorry.
music store.
That's the, yeah, that's, I don't know how to say it. Players could never have lived as long as it has if moneyed people had not been interested in us in the beginning. Now what we have are regular people interested in us, but it took a while for that to happen. Anything else? Don't forget, you all know my birthday is July 13th. Anybody who wants to